Welcome back to Africa's Boardroom. Before the break, we mentioned that there was still a lot of work that needs to be done to regain the consumer loyalty in this fragile economy. My studio guests are Nikki Tyrer, she's Senior Executive at Accenture, Josi McKenzie, Independent Marketing Consultant, Cobus van Graan, MD at Tracer CQM, and Lizette, Kritzinger, Account Director at No Markets Intelligence. Cobus, how important is it to know your customer so that you can actually add to your sales performance by doing those little extras?
I think it's critical because if you don't have that information, it's going to be difficult to do those little extras. On the one side, I always say there's a business side to it, and the type of knowledge you need, and also a personal side. Business side, you've got to know if she wants to buy a dress. You've got to know, ask the question why you're buying it, and get that little pieces of information. And then from a personal perspective as well, I think companies from a technology point of view, they've got to look at that to have a CRM that gives them that information when they talk to a client, to have that information in front of them so that they can mention it in the conversation. On the other side,
so
again,
know what their needs are really.
What their needs are, but also the personal side in there.
Yeah.
And say, yes, I saw you phoned a week ago, and was that problem resolved? As simple as that. But the human element is very important, as I just mentioned. The training that needs to go into the people that interact with the clients, they've got to really start to have a focus on really engaging with the client. That's going to be important. And then also going with that is what's how are management of clients looking after the people working for them in the sense of what do they measure? Are they measuring them on effectiveness or actually engaging with clients? And those are critical things that I think we've got to start to think about.
Nikki, is this something that's come out of the survey that the customers do want or expect that extra bit of service?
They absolutely do. And so, it goes back to the differentiating factor of the experience. The primary reason from a South African point of view for people to churn was certainly the overall experience of service, but one of the biggest factors that were contributing that was the time it took for them to be served, the type of interaction and relationship that they had with the individual on the telephone or within the store, the experience, the qualifications, the capability of the person that served them, and the ability to actually build some sense of a relationship during that interaction. So yes, the people dynamic, as Cobus says, is very, very important.
But strangely enough, you pointed out that although South Africans were the least satisfied in that survey, they were the most willing to sit on the telephone all afternoon to try and get a problem resolved.
Nice. It was an interesting thing about the survey because there's some perceptions around South Africa as a market as being an emerging market economy, and actually we're exhibiting some very interesting dynamics in South Africa, which is almost a blend between what we see in the emerging markets of Brazil and China and India, but the same as the developed markets. And so we actually had a split between some of the characteristics. And so while, as you said, we were the least happy overall with our service, we actually rated, and we were one of the few emerging market countries that actually rated on a par with the developed economy and how long we were prepared to sit.
So we've got more time to waste.
Well, I don't know if it's such because we've got more time to waste or if it's because we just have lower expectations of how long it's actually going to take. And so our sheer frustration or our desire to get something solved at some point just means that we actually just have the tenacity to just follow this thing through to get it resolved. And so I don't know how much of that is part of our countrywide psyche or whether or not it's just the expectations that people are dealing with at the moment.
But I also think on that point, I think the reason that we're willing to sit so long on the phone to actually get the issue resolved is the fact that we know that from experience that if you don't get it resolved, the next time you're going to phone back, you're going to talk to someone else. They're not going to know the story, so you're going to have to start from scratch again. Or it's not going to get resolved at all because that person won't get back to you. So, and I think that maybe makes us more tolerant in terms of how long we wait before an issue gets resolved because we don't want to put the phone down.
But we were also significantly high on complaining about that experience. And so while we sat on the phone,
we moaned about it.
We moaned about it a lot. And so that's the trade-off. We're prepared to do it because that's what we know it's going to take, but we're also going to be exceptionally vocal about making sure that we've done that, making sure people know that that's actually what we've done.
Josi, how do we take this forward for a company that has fallen behind on service levels? How do they actually raise their game so that they do retain customers and grow their customers?
Well, I think there are two things. The first thing, obviously, is to make sure you know who your customers are, and you'd be amazed at how many organizations don't know who their customers are. They don't have any idea who they are. The second thing is also to empower your people, your frontline people, to be able to give the level of service. So it has to become part of the culture of the organization. And so often what you find is that organizations say that they want to do this, etc., but the rules and the regulations that the organization has in place do not actually enable the organisation to give service. So people have got to really look at their organisations and say, are we actually at a point where we can do this? Do we know our customers, and have we enabled our people to do this? So it's about the meeting of those two things, I think.
Cobus, is it clear when you see an organisation whether they actually have that ethos built into them, that they are service orientated and do look after the clients? Can you recognise those organisations?
Yes, you can. I mean, my wife told me this week of going into a shop where they, for shopping for clothes. My daughters were there as well, and just the way they acted. I mean, the people immediately was 3 people around them saying, "Listen, how can we help? Why are you buying this?" And individually starting to talk to my daughters and helping them. And my wife told me, and I'm sure she told at least her network of friends already, about the great experience she had in there. Yes, you can see it. Sometimes it takes a little longer to see it, yeah, and sometimes you don't see it at all. So absolutely, you see the difference in there, and you, as a consumer, you see it very quickly.